Can you hear me? I'm just testing my system first.
We can hear you.
Great. Is it time to share already?
Oh, you got
Yes.
another minute. Good
Okay.
morning.
Are you sing a song for us? Keep
Yeah.
us entertained. Can you dance? You're a
I will
geologist,
make
right?
you dance. How about I will make you dance, Win? Get
No,
ready.
no, no. You're the geologist, so you should rock and roll for us.
Okay, that's right. Is my
Terrible.
screen shared?
Okay, Mark, you can
yes.
meet the rest of us. Okay.
Yes, yes, Sergeant, it is.
It's a little
Okay.
small. Can you make it bigger? There you go.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
There you
That's
go.
better.
Excellent.
So I can go ahead and start.
We still have people checking, coming in, so you might wait just a minute.
Yeah, sure.
And Mark Harbison, you might want to greet all of the newcomers that have come in because some came from the other session over here. So you can just say hello to them and
Yeah, greetings.
introduce
everyone. What-
Sergeant. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, hang on. Why don't we wait another 2 minutes?
Okay.
So
For those that were on the last last Zoom meeting, I did put my PowerPoint in there, and you can download it directly off the chats, the chat part if you want to download it.
So I think let's get started. So welcome, everyone. This session is going to be on international service, and we're very lucky to have some of our more active members here. I see Dave Mosrin is on the screen, and Laura Steelquist, Jim Becker, and Alan Kusunoki, all our members and active members of the International Service Team. Arjun is going to be presenting for us today, so Arjun, take it away.
Thank you, Mark. So let me share my screen first. So, so I believe my screen is good. Okay. Aloha, good morning. So this morning I am representing the, as Mark said, international service team. In this team, particularly, Murray Visser used to lead this time, and this year James Ham is leading the team, and he couldn't be here this morning, but these are the members or actually regular attendees, and of course Mark and Murray and James are my mentors to do the international projects, so global grants and international service projects. So so what I'm going to present in the next 30 minutes or so is just these pictures, just give an overview what we do, our district, our Rotarian do from change this picture, the woman carrying water on the back, to running water at their house. So let's begin at the very beginning. I'm sure there are so many new members here who has never done the international, and there was another session Benson mentioned earlier about the introduction. So what is Rotary? So who are we? We are a Rotarian, of course, and the people of action. So So we are leaders who work together in communities. We inspire, we transform, we connect, and we celebrate what's possible. And we focus identifying problems and, of course, on finding solutions. So our purpose is, to summarize, is to serve. Serving is the basic main foundation of the Rotary in general. And so the Rotary organizations, the structures, we have three parts. We have our clubs and members here, and the Rotary International and the Rotary Foundations. Our foundation chair, Del Green, mentioned talk a lot about the foundation this morning. And so we work together. Rotary, we grow outward actually. So all internationally, and Benson mentioned this morning, we are in over 200 countries. So the Rotary Foundation is the charity side of the Rotary International, and often we refer that as the economic engine of Rotary International. So the mission of the Rotary Foundation is to advance world understanding. Look at the word, keyword I highlighted here. It's the world. It's not just where we are, and alleviate poverty, where the and which is we all know relatively. So the rest of the world is relatively need more than we do. And so therefore, we have Laura Stilquesti. When I just joined, she always used to talk about the foundation giving, and all of our clubs, we have foundation chairs, and they always go to club meetings, talk about foundation giving. And then we have the whole foundation team led by Del Green. We talk about the giving, the foundation, where does the money go? So here's the structure. Actually, Del also talked this morning. So our foundation giving, so the 50% comes back to the district, almost 50, 47.5 to be accurate, as a DDF, and the 50%, almost 50%, 47.5 stays in the orphan as an orphan in the Rotary International. Actually, it does not come. And so whatever we come in the district, we divide into different things. The district projects, and then we have the global grants, peace centers, and polio, and the depending on different district, we use in different way. So whatever stays in the foundation, almost 50%, only way you use that is doing global grants. So you see the main need, why we do need to do. So only way you use is this, and also on top of that, whatever comes to the district also goes to the global grants. And the money is another reason we really need to do the global grants. And then these global grants are supposed to support large international activities, and it has to be sustainable. And it's very expected, the outcome has to be measurable. And so, and also, Del Green also mentioned this morning, there are 7 areas of focus. It has to be one of the focus areas, and I'll introduce that later. And the purpose is to respond real community needs, not necessarily what we think, what the real community, locals thinks. That's what we're supposed to address. But we need to work together with the Rotary clubs and the districts. And so having said that, doing the global grant is not really easy thing. It's a little complicated. So we have to comply with the Rotary, the foundation's requirement, and there are lots of coordinations it requires. So I just mentioned 7 focus areas. These are the 7 focus areas. Most of you are familiar. So to do a global grant, you have to have one of the focus areas. So the environment one is the recently added. So the peace is actually the center of the Rotary, and then disease prevention, water and sanitization. Last month we just had the water and sanitization month, right? And so maternal and child health, we were in April. This is the month, actually, our monthly theme. And so since many of you are familiar about the district grants, I'd like to compare a little bit with what's the difference with the district grant and the global grant. There are lots of differences, actually. And then you can see what's required, and the district grants generally you see no, not required. Global grant, there are lots of requirements. So the cost, there is no minimum maximum to do locally. So I live next to Alawai Elementary School. We can do like $100 project or $100,000 project. But the global grant, there is a minimum. You have to have $30 minimum. So, and the funding comes from the district grant, come from DDF and the clubs. And then the global grant, as I showed earlier, it comes from World Fund as well as DDF and our club. And the application process, our district grant managed by district, but the global grant, there is online process. And so the district grants, we don't need to be one of the focus areas. The global grants, it has to be one of the 7 focus areas. We don't need partnership. We can do can do independently the district grants, but the global grant, you need the host club, local host. Wherever you are doing, you need to have some local host. And then the sustainability, this is really a big thing. Of course, we want our district grants to be sustainable too, but you don't have to write, let's justify or things like that. So, but this one, the global grant, it has to be sustainable. So if you say like in Nepal, there are 100 people hungry, I want to give me money, I'm going to feed them. It's not sustainable. It's not really a good global grant. The district grant, you can do that kind of grant too. So the measurability. So this is very, your success has to be measurable you have to show with numbers, some data. This is required in global grant, but not in the district grant. And then some of the global grant can be scholarship. But there is a designated level for the graduate and postgraduate things, but the scholarship for the district grant, so we can do any, and there is no requirement. So in addition, so the global grants require club qualification, the club, including the host club. And it has to be community focused. So community has to be involved, including local government, the organization involved in there. We need like community assessment, and then the reporting is very important at the end. And we need to comply local laws. That's the reason we need local host. And the grant center reviews all the process, and then the approval and things like that. It takes time. And the topic, you saw we're talking about the global grant and international service. Sometimes we mix together. So the global grant does not necessarily need the direct service, like in another word, direct participation. We don't necessarily need to travel other countries to do the global grant, but the having international service component always makes more. That's a direct service. It adds the value. And also another value I see here locally is our own experiences. It adds value into our experiences. So the service projects can be related to global grant, or we can use district grant or club money, or we can do service project without money too. But the grant money cannot be used for our travel, with exception if it's something called vocational training, and then your expertise is required for the grant, then you can use it. That's a different kind of global grants. You see the couple of pictures, this picture from Indonesia, I'm sure you see many familiar faces, and they travel and then did all the interesting stuff. And so upcoming international service projects, we have so many upcoming international service projects. So the Nepal is the one. This is a last year meeting, online meeting. Unfortunately, we had to postpone, and hopefully we're gonna do this October. That's in Nepal. And another is Papua New Guinea. It's likely to be in August. The Bhutan, we don't know the date yet. And then another trip possibly likely coming in Fiji, led by our district governor-elect, Randy Hart. So the back to global grant, what does it take to do one? A lot of time, lots of documents. This is the one we just submitted recently. If I put together all these documents, it's almost 500 pages actually. So lots of document, photos, even evidences. This is from all the thumbnails I submitted in the grant center, we submitted. And then it needs, local club needs to visit to the community and things like that. So basically it takes a village, and of course money. And how much money does it need to do a global grant? So the club can participate as a sponsor club or the what we call host club, or just as a contributing club. You can just put money or and you can put on your contribute to money grant that's led by our district club or clubs on the other district too sometimes. So the host clubs, so international and local, there are 2 host clubs to do a global grant. So have primary contact. So the primary contact is supposed to do all the communication and fulfill all the requirement. And so the grant center primary contact constantly have to log into the grant center and the fulfill all the requirements. So the grants are funded by club or multiple clubs. It doesn't have, it's a multiple club. So here is one example. This is one we just submitted. Oh, so let me go back. So this is a WASH project in Nepal. We just submitted. It's likely to approve soon. Look at this. There are like 4 districts and then 17 clubs. And you can see the amount ranging different amount and then also district. So for example, our district, well, that's what we DDF is. And then this is the World Fund. Remember, I mentioned earlier the World Fund matching. That's where it's coming from. And then it comes the total one. And then outside district, for example, this is our district grant, and there are districts from Washington and other district contributing money. So here is a funding model. Mark Harbison clearly explained this on our last training, but also Dell kind of touched earlier this morning. So the club cash contribution, whatever we put, then the club has what we call allocations. I'm sure the president-elect has seen these things. Like every club, there is a club allocation. And then this DDF match, and then the 80% World Fund. This is how we do. So, for example, we have like to do a $50,000 club needs 20,000, then DDF 20,000, then 16,000 World Fund. So during this process, I work with several districts, at least 4 or 5 districts. I find that our district is very, very generous and really encouraged to do the global grants. Just to give you an example, the Washington, there is you can request only 15,000. I'm not really comparing or anything, but our district is very, very generous and really encouraging to do it. So the application process, again, there is a long process, but so one of the very important thing is the community assessment. So local host, if possible, international as well, have to go to the community. This is an example how we did the community service. This is the local house right there. They were very welcoming. It's a fun as well. Because the grant needs to address real community needs, and it has to be sustainable. That's one of the reasons we really need to involve local community. For example, this water project here, they ask simple things. For example, the water is pumping from downstream. So who is going to pay the electricity? Although the amount may be small, we have to have specified those, that because if let's say if you run 1 month and then nobody pays electric, then doesn't work. It sounds a small thing, but it's very important. And the grant center, Rotary Grant Center, they goes through all detail. They're very, very trained professional people. So we're doing grant in Nepal in my village. They ask questions I never thought, and that's very important. So we really value their the feedback. And it has to have measurable goal. Measurable means like how many people going to be benefit? What are the benefits? Like so the quantitative kind of measurable goals. And of course, align with one of the focus areas. And so it actively involves Rotarian and community members. It's not just giving money. Just giving money is not really a good global grant. So it needs involvement. Okay. And then of course it needs to meet the eligibility requirements. And the Rotary International does not really have a deadline. Actually, you can apply any time of the year, but our district has generally November 1st, right, Mark? You can confirm. That's the commitment deadline. You do not need to pay or something like that. That's when you make a commitment to a global grant. And so I mentioned it's a complicated thing. So there are lots of resources. Our district website, and then our IST, International Service Team. Our website is really, really great. Actually, I can just pull here. This is our website. I believe you can see it. You go here and there is a foundation and grant, and then go and global grants. So this is really informative. Actually, it has all the things, our grants, some of the highlights, and so I really encourage you to also visit this site. So let me go back to my thing first again. So, and the Rotary International Grant Center. So the Grant Center is really, really useful. You go to Grant Center, it talks about all these things. There is PDF files, there is videos. But I never had to really use Go Grant Center because our district and our the gurus are very, very helpful. So any global grant, so when I call Mark, he's always available. And occasionally there are things he may not know, but he knows who to ask, who to talk, and there is always a solution. So what I like to do is there are so many projects we have done and we're planning to do. It's not possible to talk all these things. I like to give you just one quick example here. I don't know if I share video sound or not, but this one here is Nepal. We just completed. This is a girl. These girls, they had to walk 2 to 4 hours one way just to get the water, and it takes time to water to get collected and then carry and things like that. So let me play this. I will skip. This is how she's carrying water on her back. Think about this, 2 to 3 hours. I have done myself. You feel so good when you're so close to your home. And this is the source, running water, stream water, and the planning I mentioned. We had meetings with the mayor, how we did the work. There's no excavator. These are like manually. This is the village. And I mentioned about the meetings. And this is some of the highlights.
नमस्कार, म ब्यास नगरपालिकाको मेयर सम्पूर्ण रोटरियन साथीहरूलाई मेरो रोटरी यसले ब्यास नगरपालिकाको
This is a district governor Rajiv. He inaugurated, and then there are name of all the clubs we contributed.
Local break.
Sir, Ma, Club of Honolulu Sun. Those were Rotary today Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunset Primary International with support from D5000 Hawaii Rotary Clubs, Hanalei Bay, Waikiki, Honolulu, Ekampur.
She struggled, but she did good job.
Wailuku, Windward, Pau Sunrise, Ala Mona,
Mark was laughing.
Pau Hana, and
Now, more about the project. This coming President-elect Ramesh Shrestha will.
So the water filtration system and the
You are
scheme, and
filtration
I'm going to skip these.
The pressure reduce karna lai.
And this is the end product. So this project, it took several years. Let me give you a little background. This village, beautiful village, the earthquake made very bad. The problem got worse. The people started migrating. Out of 500 households, 200 households migrated somewhere because there was no water. And several organizations spent $500,000, including Red Cross, but they were not successful. But our grant, the way of the Rotary's way, it worked and we're successful. And so remember my first slide and these two pictures, Rotary, we began from here and then that's what they have now. And so this plaque has all the names of our clubs here in our district. And after 3 months, this completed in October or November. And after 3 months, these people, they're using gray water and then they grow potato. They never thought they could grow potato in this village. And you can see the happy faces here and the testimonials. And again, this is all the name of the club, our club, we contributed. And then, so this is our Chunder became a heaven. So this is the village. We had to wake up in the night to fetch water. So, and another person I was attending there was saying that my grandfather, parents never dreamed, my parents never dreamed, I never dreamed, and it became true today. That's what she said. And another thing, remember I mentioned about the reverse migration. Because of the water, these people migrating back to the village, and next year there are more people migrating. And then the school was there about to close the school because for the number of students came down to 8 from almost 200 students. And then now the 80 students went back and there are 12 students coming next year. So those are the impact. I was highlighting one project. So every year we have so many projects. This is the projects we have from last year. For actually this year, so 9 schools, the washing, the water and sanitation in 9 schools in Nepal, blindness, avoidable blindness, that's in Delhi. Mark is the primary contact for that. Supporting pediatric emergency resuscitation, that's a super project in Palau. Paul Morose is leading that. And ultrasound equipment and training, that's the Papua New Guinea. James is leading that, James Ham. And reducing risk factors for the non-communicable, that is in Thailand. Dave is here, I think Dave Mazaran, you can ask questions to him. And other is the ventilator ICU bed, and then that's in Thailand. This is, so the Del Green is the contact for that. So in our district conference in May, we have House of Friendship. And so our international service team will have a table at the House of Friendship to display our global grants and then encourage dialogue for new project ideas for the next year. And so we will also present the awards for the international service. And for the next year, we already have some of the possible ideas, projects. So we already have several meetings with the Rotarians from Washington, Vancouver, and other. So from here, myself, Mark, Naomi, we've been participating. There are a couple of possibilities. It's likely the one. So we kind of thinking this time we're adopting a village, and we lead one project from our district, and then the Washington, they lead another project. So work on the village and use it as a pilot project so that we can learn from this project and implement in other villages and other places, other countries as well. And so over the time, Mark does update everything in the website. So as many of you are here, I assume international service chairs also. So your responsibility, I mean, what to do is keep monitoring what are the grants we have in the website. And of course, Mark will update as well. And the deadline to make a commitment is again November 1. Before that, you might want to contact who the primary person of the grant is, what is the grant about, and ask those questions like I mentioned earlier. Is there a measurable outcome? Is it going to be sustainable? Where's the money coming from, and things like that. Again, we have team. Mark, myself, James are always available, and also the international service team. This is the team we have. Ask any of the team member or any of us. So now I'm saving some time for the what I call tinker time. So this time is you curious, ask question and give feedback. I know I rushed a little bit and saving time for the discussion. So because this video will stay there, I'm sure. And so, and what I would like to hear from you is, so what kind of international project you are interested or where, if you have particular interest, and how can D5000 actually encourage you to more clubs to participate and contribute and also lead global grants. So with that, let me unshare and open for discussion. Please put the question in chat box or unmute yourself and ask here.
This is Janice from Rotary Club Bacona. Little complicated to put this in the chat. Our club struggles with understanding, looking at our spreadsheet, and it'll say, you know, we have so much funds for global grants. But then, you know, as we are more of a participant rather than sponsoring anything. So if we look at 1 year and it says, let's say it says we have $500, but then funding doesn't come for that grant for a couple of years. So we give our $500 from our club. How does a district then automatically match that? Because we had those funds a couple of years ago in there, or how does that grant get those funds that's from the district as opposed to just our 500 that we give from our club?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Janice, and that's really a good question. And so the allocation is sort of like our earning. That's how we can use, and then once we put the cash, we get that match. And your keyword is that automatically. It's, I wouldn't say automatically, our foundation chair has to, and also DG they have to authorize. And actually I let Mark or Laura here to address this. Mark, would you like to add more on this?
Yeah, I can. So I think the question basically is, how does the matching happen? And why does it sometimes take over 1 year? So we have introduced in our district a commitment letter that each club has to submit for each grant that they want to participate in. And the reason we're doing that is because sometimes, as Arjun said, some of these grants are very complicated and they take a long time to get approved. And so the idea is that you cannot, when you receive your club allocation, you cannot accumulate it over a number of years. So basically you have to use it or lose it by November 1. But once you have committed to a grant, that commitment is good until the grant is approved. So it may not be approved until the following Rotary year, but your DDF commitment to that grant is still valid, and your responsibility to match the funding with your club cash is still valid. So once the grant is approved, what happens is you send your club cash to the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation assigns a certain amount of DDF to it, whatever the matching is. And then the World Fund match takes place at the end of that process. And then the Rotary Foundation sends one large check to whichever club is administering the money, usually the host club. So usually the club that's in the country where the project is taking place. So
Very nice.
I'd be glad to, if anyone is confused about that, I'd be glad to talk to you and walk you through that. It's a little daunting, and it can be, the main thing to remember is that once you make that commitment, it lasts until the grant is approved. And it may go into the following Rotary year.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
that's,
I got it. I think
Yeah,
no
that-
one else in the club understands either, but I think I've got it. I think I can explain. Thank you. So it's a commitment letter that is key, because we had one that was like, I think it was 2 years past before,
Mhm.
but I'm not
Might
sure we
be.
had a commitment letter, or that we weren't doing them at that time. I don't know. So that's the key. Thank you.
The commitment letters are new because we ran into problems with clubs not telling each other from year to year that there had been a commitment. So, yeah, this is working out much better.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Thank you, Laura.
so don't be surprised if someone asks money this year and says, oh, it's from 2 years ago. It does happen because the application approval process, it takes time. And usually it's not, usually they come to the clubs asking money after the grant is approved.
Arjun, this is Dave. One thing that
Yes.
people should remember is that it's a good idea that if your board is voting on contributing funds to a global grant, that you put that in the minutes of your meetings, and so that you have that registered. And that way, there's no discussions a year later or 2 years later when maybe that president is no longer with the club that says, oh, I made that promise. Even if there is that letter, it still should be registered in your minutes of your board meetings. That helps. Thank you.
That's a good point, Dave. Thanks for adding.
I have a question, and I'm sorry, we're a really small club, Pahoa Sunset. My name is Susie Osborne, and I guess this is clear as Greek to me. I have a lot to wrap around. It's quite challenging to understand this whole process, but thank you. And I think the commitment letters sound like a great idea. But my very basic question is, being a small club, if we haven't committed to a particular project, say a Bhutan project, but there are club members that want to actually go and do hands-on when that time comes, are they available? Are they eligible to do that? Or does the club have to have committed money towards that project in order to be a hands-on participant?
No.
Sorry, you're
So,
muted.
Mark, you are muted. Mark, I
But-
think you're addressing.
When we plan a trip, it's basically open to everyone. And usually the number of participants is limited only by, the available accommodations and, et cetera, et cetera. But normally the International Service Committee will publicize the trip, and then and they'll say, seats limited. And so then first come, first served. But you don't have to be a financial participant in the grant to participate in the trip. Does that answer your question, Susan?
Yes, thank you very much. Sorry, I was typing on another page your answers, so.
Any more other questions?
So Arjun, let me, can I jump in for a minute?
Yes, yes, please. Yes, Mark, please.
Yeah, there are a couple of things I'd like to mention. One of Arjun's slides showed a meeting of the Nepal Task Group. And one of the great things that's happening now is that COVID-19 forced us all to learn how to use Zoom. And that has actually totally changed the international service avenue of service, and also the global grants process, because, you know, in the past, we communicated with our partners by email, and they kind of kept us in the loop, but we heard from them, you know, maybe once a month. Now, when we're planning a global grant in Nepal or in Delhi, we're meeting with our partners almost every week. And so there's a level of communication internationally between Rotary clubs that's absolutely awesome. You know, back in the day, the real avenue for communicating with foreign clubs was the intercountry committees, and that really never caught on until very recently. But this new ability to communicate with our grant partners, it really adds a dimension to your life as a Rotarian. If you know you're meeting every week with someone from Nepal, and in my case, someone from Nepal, someone from Delhi. I'm also involved with the Rotary Peace Fellowship Alumni Association in their Rotary Peace Projects Incubator. So I'm looking at all kinds of global grants from all over the world. And one of the great things about that is the founders of the Peace Fellows Alumni Association are mostly Europeans. And I've never really had a lot of contact with European Rotarians before, but it's awesome. You know, they have a completely different perspective on international service. And you can imagine with what's going on in Ukraine right now, you know, those connections and relationships are, you know, they're absolutely awesome in terms of knowing what's going on and, you know, knowing what kinds of disaster grant projects the Europeans are working on. So that adds a dimension. If you're interested in that, you know, bail in. We'll open up the International Service Committee meetings to anyone, right? So that's one of the things I wanted to mention. The world has changed, and Zoom has been a big part of that.
And I just wanted to tag on to this. Susie, thank you so much for your question about whether or not your members can attend this project. Going all the way back to the membership that started off this morning, and how do you engage members and how do you retain members? I will tell you, if they go on an international service project, they will be Rotarians for life.
Forever, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The other
So,
thing, I know, the other thing I wanted to mention, I got a message in the chat from Lynn Goya, and she said, I'm interested in doing a literacy project, and how do I find out, you know, where people are working in that area of focus? So I answered, check out belrag.org, which is the website of the Basic Education and Literacy Rotarian Action Group. The Rotary Action Groups, if you're interested in finding global grant projects, or if you have one in mind and you're looking for partners, that is absolutely the best way of getting in touch with other Rotarians. And what I said about Zoom also applies. All of these Rotary Action Groups are having conferences and webinars constantly. So if you're interested in a certain type of international project, check out the Rotary Action Groups. And I promise you, you won't be sorry. You'll meet all kinds of really inspirational Rotary people who are doing great stuff.
yeah, that's a great point, Mark. And I don't know if you who were on the other session this morning, our DG-elect Randy Hart really emphasized involvement of many people in to make a positive difference. And so similar line, I had a slide, it takes a village, and particularly the Rotary's global grant, it really needs involvement from people from different areas. So if you have ideas or interest, it doesn't mean you have to do it alone. There are lots of help, and also there are ways to find money and things like that. So please don't be hesitant at all. Just come forward and share your ideas. Definitely there are ways to find solution of any problem in this.
Arjun, I have a question about the WASH project.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Please.
this was the project that was planned for last year, right?
So the WASH I just mentioned, or the 9 schools you're talking about? There are 2 WASH.
Right.
The
The-
one I just mentioned, or the 9
No,
schools?
no, the one, there was a project planned for Nepal last year in October that was postponed. So is that the one you're
Yeah.
talking about coming this October?
Okay, yeah, that one is not WASH. Actually, that is the education project.
Okay.
So the last year, that was our DG Naomi's project. So the reason I mentioned is it's a district sponsored project, and it Jumpy started from her interest to do something in that. So it's all our project, but so that project is also in the same village. I just gave you example, the drinking water, so their drinking water village.
Mhm.
That area that has in the 2 schools are like vocational schools, meaning they get high school degrees. There is additional 1 year high school degree. That
Mhm.
high school degree allows them to go to job market and get a job, like a certification. They get a surveyor, that kind of certificate.
Mhm.
So what we did in that grant is we are purchasing equipments like science lab equipments, like surveying equipment, and also veterinary science equipment like soil test for farming purpose.
Mhm.
So, and the service project of that is related to going with them and work with them, some sort of like citizen science as well. The plan was to work with the farmers and do the soil test, and then if it's the right amount of crops or things like that, and also the training on the surveying, things like that. So there's related to that project, but we can definitely visit other project sites too, including the water project I gave, and also the 9 schools we have for this year is actually the same district. We are another global grant we had last year about doing the ventilators. One of the school, the hospital that serves 250,000 people did not have a ventilator, and during the COVID it was very difficult, and we are the one to deliver the ventilators in the hospital. And then these 9 schools are in the same district, and it's on the way. Definitely we can find a way to stop by there.
So I signed up for it, excuse me, I signed up for it last year. So do I need to re-sign up for it if I'm interested in going this year?
So yeah, that's a good point. We're going to begin a conversation on that soon, and then you'll get email. So yeah, we're preparing. The local side is all prepared, and we are a little behind. Our district side is a little behind on this, but we'll start soon.
How did you say you got the word out to the District 5000 when those trips happen? I missed that part.
How does that happen?
Yeah, how does the information get disseminated on the trip so people can sign up?
Okay, let's see if Naomi is here. I need her help to answer. I don't see her. So I think we will, everyone who is in the list definitely will make sure they get email. And I think at least one of the email will send it to the presidents, I believe. Right, Mark, can you address this?
Yeah, it's also on the district website. And that's the, check out the landing page on the district website. And also check on the grants page under foundation. So
and the district conference.
Yeah, District 5000 website, right?
Is it also publicized in the newsletter, in their district newsletter?
I think that it would be publicized in the district newsletter, maybe a couple of months before the trip. But I'm not sure. I mean, that would be up to Randy and his editors if it's, included every month.
Susie brings up a very, very good question. And it's kind of obvious after the fact that maybe we do need to improve the communication. We make assumptions sometimes that, all the folks that are on the International Planning Committee is, pushing that information out, and folks like me and Sandy are pushing that information out to the AGs and down to the presidents. But as Mark mentioned, or Dave mentioned, one good source is to make sure that it's in the district newsletter that goes out to everybody. Then that way we know it's gotten to everybody in the district, instead of trying to rely on folks to push the information down to those that might be interested. So good question, good point, Susie. I don't know if we have much time left up, Mark or Arjun, but there's a little bit of difference between global grants and an international project that doesn't involve a global grant. And the project that we're thinking about doing in Fiji falls kind of into that latter category of being an international project, but not a global grant, because there's not a global grant already established. And as both of you pointed out, it takes quite a bit of time and effort to put together a global grant. And one of the challenges that we've had in Fiji is that partner piece. It's very, very difficult to get someone down there to take the lead on it because of the 500 pages that Arjun mentioned. They go like, I'm not going there. So the project we're looking at in Fiji will be, and I just was talking with Steve Handy about it. We're probably going to adopt a small home for the homeless project while we're down there, and then we'll have a health piece to it, to where we're bringing folks out of Hilo Medical Center and stuff, and James to go down to offer. And it's a homeless village that they currently have down there, but it doesn't nearly reach the demand that they have. So we'll do some medical services offered during the time frame that we're down there, and then probably tie in a literature project. So it'll be kind of like the project that we did previously, where it combined 3 or 4 different projects and not just one single project when we go down.
Are going to be out of Suva or Nandi?
Probably in Suva, but I'm not sure where that small homeless village is at, but I think it's close to Suva.
Okay.
And we'll push out a lot more information on that, because we just got the confirmation just this past week on the small home and the village there that is in dire need of medical support and stuff. So.
Interesting to see if they need any like backyard garden support. Probably not, given that it's there, but there's food security.
Susan, you'd be surprised.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times, and a lot of times that could make a great district grant project. If you know in advance that people are going to be taking things with them to Fiji, then you can contribute that way, or personally, right? But there are a lot of international projects going on that are not global grants. One of my favorites is Solar Stove project going on at an orphanage in Uganda. That's been being done by Upcountry Maui, And of course, the Lahaina Club in Maui has been doing trips to the Philippines every year for as long as I can remember. And, they do everything from, small water projects to, and whenever they go over, they take suitcases full of books and medicines and slippers and, all kinds of things. They are in touch with the local communities in the Philippines that they visit, and they know, from the people there, what people need and what they want and what we can take over from Hawaii. So it's pretty awesome. And so those projects are going on all the time, and you don't always hear about them. And it would be nice if we did hear about them. So don't hesitate, send me an email.
So are we using other time or what's?
We have used all of the time.
Okay.
To let Mark know. The community service people are here.
Oh, okay. Naomi, do you want me to keep recording or should I stop my recording?
Stop the recording because we're going to do a new one for community service.
Okay.